So I did option B for the advanced organizer, and I did the IEP work or the IEP PDFs. Um, it just talked about like the student being the leader of their own IEP meetings, and I honestly had never heard of that until I was like in this class and read the documents, and I thought it was really interesting. I use the word responsibility a lot because that's something that I talked about a lot. It just like increases the responsibility of the student, and typically when it increases the student involvement, it will increase the parent involvement because the parent's not gonna like just you being them going in there and being told what to do or this is how you should do it. And I know that's not how you should talk to parents in general, but they typically will take things better about their student's disability from their child. So age responsibility. Um, I use weaknesses and strengths that stick out in this book over here because it talks about the student like knowing when they did like tests on these, the student knowing more than they thought about or than they originally thought about their disability and about the legal aspects of it, and they know their own weaknesses and strengths better than typically anyone else does. So that's like a good thing for them, and I think that they can help you as a teacher to understand like where they're coming from and where they look to have a goal to as well, so you all can work together to make a goal together and get them further. So they can talk about like implementing interventions with you and what they think would work best with you. And although we can't just say, okay, yeah, that's going to work, we can, by increasing their involvement, I think it'll increase just their desire to do these things and to get better. So a couple words I just said right there were disability, and we talked about the student knowing their own disability well and just knowing even the legal facts of it and like the laws are right up here and their goals. And obviously we're talking about IEP meetings, so IEPs in here a lot. Gap analysis is one as well. In the, I think it was the second document that it talked mostly about gap analysis. It just talked about like closing that gaps um, between the test scores and between the just knowledge gain and just that gap between the general ed classroom and the special education classroom. Um, Another thing that it talked about was like the level of the student involvement. And it just talked about the steps of what the student goes through, talk about how they present the information about the future and explains their disability. The student explains their disability, their individual strengths and weaknesses, and explains what accommodations they think they need. And it talks about the student leading, the student talking about their responsibilities, then making the introduction, then making the closing, and just you working together and really making that student feel like they're the leader of themselves without being just told what to do. Um, it talks about having, you can have like interest surveys for transition like available. So I guess if you want to talk to the parents about, and the parents and the student and, all other colleagues there about what we think the what would be in the best interest of the student and for their like transition goals when they're in high school and or they're going from middle to high or high to graduation and what's coming after that. You're always supposed to have like copies of the laws available, just IDEA and all of that. So, oh, and it talks about like students with previous IEPs as well. Um, that those things should be, if like you're going to make changes and you have a student leader, like they should talk to you and show you about things that they want to be changed, and they should highlight those and make sure to talk about those and like check mark goals that they want to still have, or write new goals if they need just a more complex goal, or even if their goal needs to be taken down some, just so we can meet those goals and just feel like achieved. It talks about preparation, the student being prepared for the meeting, and just knowing, and you being prepared for what the student has to say, and being prepared to accommodate to the parents and listen to them. Assessment, because just because we're giving accommodations doesn't mean assessment doesn't need to be taking place. So it talks about what kinds of assessment the student prefers or does best with. Collaboration, because collaboration between all three, the faculty, the student, and the parents or family involvement, like that's really important, especially for the student's success, because I mean, they just need to feel like they're important in these decisions, and I think that's definitely going to make for a better knowledge gain for that student. Talks about transition. I talked about transition over different school levels, and the transition from out of school, and leadership. That's a big one for students who are leading their own IEP meetings. I think that's clearly stated. They're the leader of it. They are the ones who, quote unquote, have control and are able to say what they need, or what they think they need, and what accommodations that they want to have and think that they should have. And I think that's most of the words I covered. I think that the gist of all of it was just to, have it student led, and that this is definitely probably going to help most students in just the fact of their knowledge gain, just knowing that they have a say is super important. Even if your student isn't the IEP leader, they need to know that their input is very important, and that it's not all about, oh, this is what the teacher says, so this is what goes. You all need to work together for a common goal, as well as with the family. And I really like Wordle, because I just think it's really cute, and I think it's something I would definitely use in my classroom, because it's a good visualization, and I think it's easy for students. I mean, you can pull these words up and talk about them, and just it's a good eye catcher for most people. And I just thought this was a good one for school. So that's it. Thanks.